I finally and permanently gave up on The Walking Dead in about season 6. At least I think it was season 6. It was in Alexandria, and the walkers had breached the walls, were infesting the streets of the town, and the gang were hiding out in one of the houses, preparing to walk across the street with some whiny kid, and something just broke inside me. I couldn't take the inconsistency anymore. Watching through stretches of relatively dull and uninspiring storylines, just hanging on for the really good episodes that did come once in a while, watching characters like Andrea behave stupidly, hoping that the great moments made more sense. And the great moments were many. Sophia walking out of the barn, Rick angrily stating how it's no longer a democracy and he's going to be making the decisions from now on. The Grove from season 4, the first swing behind Glenn, Nebraska. When the stars were right, The Walking Dead produced epic moments of television. And the first season, just 6 episodes, was all epic from beginning to end. Glimpses of that season 1 level of quality, those little peaks that kept popping up. That's what kept me hoping and watching until season 6. But this video is about season 1, particularly the pilot episode. I think the episode count is a huge part of what makes the first season so good. If you're adapting The Lord of the Rings, which is hundreds of thousands of words, then sure, you end up with 12 hours of movie, and it's going to be dense. If you're adapting a comic book, it's just logical, it's probably going to be much shorter. I understand that there's a financial incentive to make as much as you can of something that's successful, and that's what leads to the higher episode counts in later seasons. I would love to live in the alternate universe where all of the Walking Dead seasons are just 6 episodes. The Farm, for example, in season 2, would particularly benefit from a shortened runtime. But back to the pilot episode. Rewatching it now, one of the things that struck me is just how quiet and gently paced it is. The dialogue is minimal. It's very much show, don't tell, particularly the sequence in the hospital from when Rick wakes up, explores the corridors until he finds the one with the dead behind it, walks through the grounds with the abandoned military equipment and down to his home, past the zombie in the park. I don't think there's any dialogue until he walks in his house and shouts for his wife and child. It's certainly an uncharacteristically quiet episode, the violence being towards the beginning and then at the end, and helps the show establish itself being about the characters. The old comment that The Walking Dead isn't the zombies, it's Rick and Shane and Morgan and all the people that have to deal with still being alive. Morgan, played by Lennie James, is one of those characters that becomes annoying as the show itself becomes more annoying. It's a great performance by Lennie James, who reappears in later seasons and in other series in the franchise. In the pilot, he exists as a contrast to Rick. Once Rick recovers, he has a very can-do, go-getter attitude to living in the apocalypse, trying to work out where his family might have gone and how exactly he's going to find them. Morgan still has his child, and he knows where his wife is, but refuses to do anything about it. Rick makes the decision to leave him behind, hoping he will catch up later. He goes to deal with the bicycle girl, a zombie with less than half a body that's crawling through the park. He looks at her, expresses sympathy with her situation, and shows his compassion by firing a gun, something he also does with his former colleague Leon. His short interaction with Bicycle Girl is another example of the great sound design in the episode, with some slightly schmaltzy music in the background that almost makes the scene come across like a heartfelt conversation from a soap opera like Grey's Anatomy. There's a similar thing with the horse that he meets. Rick making the animal some promises about getting to spend quality time with other horses, promises that get broken in the worst possible way. If Rick had paid that horse some money, it would definitely deserve a refund. So as pilot episodes go, this is surprisingly gentle for a zombie show, very character focused, except for those 2 bursts of violence towards the beginning and the end. To conclude the episode, Rick arrives in Atlanta looking for his family, turns a corner in the street, and there's a huge horde of zombies there. I think the quiet, gentle nature of the episode builds up to this. Rick being stuck in an urban environment, chased by a huge horde of the dead, from which he can only find a temporary escape. And that is the cliffhanger the episode ends on. I think Days Gone By is a perfect balancing act, a masterpiece of pacing, of establishing the world and the main character, along with little hints of what's going to come later, like the helicopter, the mention of the CDC, Rick's family, and Shane and the others in the quarry. It's a balancing act that gets maintained throughout those first 6 episodes, and then intermittently works in later seasons. Like I say, there are moments in the later seasons that are good and even great television. That's why I think, as far as The Walking Dead goes, this first season is essential watching, and the rest is kind of up to you and how much inconsistency you can tolerate. Thanks for watching.